What is this? Middle of October?
17th.
Tomorrow, actually Sunday, our vets will arrive for class number 38. Wow. It's our last one of 2025. We're going to release the dates for the class 2026 schedule. It's going to be released. Give me the dates, please.
The dates
We're
come
going
out.
to notify everyone via,
Can they hear you?
Yeah, they can now.
we're going to
Gonna-
notify everyone about a week out, sometime around the 7th of November.
And they'll go for
what
sale?
What the schedule will be, and then we'll actually open those slots up on RobCosman.com for purchase on 15 November.
14. It's going to be Friday.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested in coming next year, get in line. Love to have you. And if you're a combat wounded vet, by all means, please register. Look, I got a torn shirt. Did that, forgot. Anyway, so this tonight is Ask Me Anything and I'll tell you no lies. So, Frick, you got one?
Luther's reading the questions tonight.
Is he? Can he?
Yep. So here's the first one. This is
English, please.
Yeah, this is from Wes Brown in Point Verda, Florida. It's about veneering.
Hi, Les, in Florida.
Yeah,
West.
Wes, and it's about cutting veneers. Actually, he asked, when resawing veneers on my bandsaw, what's the best way to smooth out the sawn face of the veneer to achieve a uniform thickness? And I do not own a drum sander.
Well, what I've always done in those circumstances is plane one surface first, veneer, glue it on, and then once it's glued on, now it's a lot easier to work and you can plane the sawn surface. So before I would cut the next piece, I would plane that surface. Again, you're dealing with a relatively thick piece of wood. Put that surface against the fence, slice the veneer, glue it on, and then once it's glued onto a substrate, then you can go ahead and plane it, and it's just a lot easier to handle. That's the way I would do it. Another question.
So this is from Jared in Ontario. Don't know what his last name
Hey,
is.
Jared.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah. Says when routing the groove for the lid and the back edge of a wood hinge box, is there a specific depth the groove should be?
If you're routing a groove for the lid, so he's obviously talking about, I don't have one right here,
Yeah, and so he
but the box that where you cut the lid off after the fact.
He says logically he just thinks it should be half the diameter of the dowel. So I'll let you take it from there.
Isn't it 49%?
Oh, you're talking about the round.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you do want to be a little bit less than half so that when you close the box, it doesn't become sprung. Grab me a box, please. So I'll show you. I'll get Jake to do a close-up on this. Give me one that you can see the,
You want these?
Yeah.
I got to be able to, no, I want a box one. A box, yeah, that's right. That kind. No, oh yeah, that's good, that's good. I thought it was the hinge on the outside. Thank you. Okay, can you get in close? Now this one's actually got a little chamfer on there, so it's not going to be quite as good, but maybe I can show it to you with this. So, tell me what his name, this is the guy in Ontario?
Jared?
Jari? J-A-R-I?
Jerry.
Jerry?
Jared, like the guy that used to be
Jared.
on
Like from
Subway.
Well, I can't, Luther talks South Carolina, Takalaki stuff. I don't understand what he's saying. So he's talking about routing the groove that houses the dowel. If you were to do half and half, when you clamp it, it'll end up sprung. So you'll clamp it like this, and when you let it go, your front lid will be opened up like that. So what you have to do is cut, if one half of the dowel is sitting in this one, the other half's in this one, you actually want about 49% in each, which should leave you,
Show them that, yeah.
yeah, should leave you enough of a gap that out here, this is tight, but if I move the shim up here, I can pull it out.
Well, they can see the gap.
Well, you can't, I put a little chamfer on there. The reason why that shows up is I put a little tiny chamfer all the way around it. accentuate it instead of trying to hide it. But you want a little bit of a gap there to ensure that it closes tight up front. Good question. Next. By the way, what we do, the reason we're here, if you're here for the first, I gotta say, so I want a big show. Can you go get one of those boats? Can you bring one in? Okay, I'll wait to do that when you bring it in. We do this to raise, or to let you participate with us in providing this beneficial service to our combat wounded veterans. So 6 times a year, we bring in 7 from, I'm looking out in the other room, we have flags on the wall representing the countries that combat wounded vets have come to our program. So I see Ireland, we had 1 from Ireland. I see Denmark, we've had 2 from Denmark. I see Australia, we have 2 from Australia. Howdy, Tony. And I see United States, majority of the soldiers come from the US, and then Canadian flag, and we get about 10% come from Canada. Costs a lot of money. We cover all their expenses, their travel, meaning their airfare, or land if they're close enough to drive. We house them, we feed them. They're here for the 7-day class, 6-day. All the tools that they use when they're here are brand new, and they get to take them home. So it's somewhere around $4,000 or $5,000 if you're talking Canadian, somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 if you're talking US. And thanks to our bench brigade, headed up by Jack Lane down in Tejas, we have a bench just exactly like the ones that we use in our shop, built by a volunteer and delivered, and hopefully, in fact, in almost all cases, in person to the vet. So last year, our expenses were $350,000. So it's not getting any cheaper. And we don't take any government money for that, so everything is paid for by you and us. So if you would like to participate, the best way to do it, which really helps us be able to manage what we're doing, is to sign up for a reoccurring payment, whether it's $10 or $10,000. And then we then know how much is coming in each month, and we know what we need to raise and whatever. Luther takes care of all that side of it, and I do the teaching part. So, and as a reward to you, for every 10 new reoccurring payments we receive when we do these lives, we'll give away 1 prize valued at about $300. And we just do a draw. You don't have to participate in order to win. You just have to follow the instructions on the chat and sign up for the draw. So there. Next one.
This is from Herbie Grief from England. I'm not 100% sure what he's asking, but it's another veneering question. So he says he's asked this before, but he's never gotten in. So Herbie, you're getting in this time. He says, I've had some success cutting veneers on a bandsaw and gluing them together. Question is, what would you consider an optimum thickness for such veneers? I'm not sure why he's cutting them and then gluing them back together.
Well, he wants a wide one. He's edge to edge.
Oh, okay.
So, Herbie. Whenever I think of Herbie, I always think of, what was the name of that movie with the Volkswagen Bug? Was it Love Bug?
Yep.
Herbie. And Luther and I introduced Luther last night to narrowboats. And I would love to go over to England and rent a narrowboat and go on those canals. So, England, favorite place to demonstrate. Jake and I are coming over sometime in 2026. When it comes, I've been doing a lot of veneering lately. And some of the veneers I have were cut 50 years ago, and they're nice and thick. And now the same stuff we buy is about 2/3 that thickness, maybe half. And it's like dealing with rice paper. It's so thin and easy to tear. So the thicker the veneer, and there's a point, the better. In fact, Luther, look this up, see if you can find an answer. At what point do you stop calling it veneer and you call it thin wood? I have no idea. I've never wondered that. I would keep them, like, if you can get them a 1/16 of an inch, that'd be ideal. If you're cutting your own on the bandsaw, a 1/16 of an inch might be a bit thin. Maybe 3/32. I don't know. I would keep them as thick as you can.
Without being wasteful.
Yeah, without being wasteful. And as far as, so what was the rest of the question about how to edge glue them?
No, he just said what was the optimum.
Oh, optimum thickness, yeah.
Optimum thickness for gluing them together.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky, but I use that yellow masking tape that we have for holding it in place. I use it,
He was just asking the optimum thickness.
well, you want me to tell him anymore?
No, that's it. He just wanted to know
That's
what
it,
the
Herb,
optimum
that's
thickness
it. Blame Jake. Next.
By the way, Chat GPT did not know when veneers turn into plain old wood. At
Boards.
what thickness?
Really?
Yeah, didn't know.
And they call that AI? I
Yes.
call that LI. LOI, lack of intelligence. Okay, I want to show you something. So I have a friend, his name is Kirk, and he has a business where he does blown-in insulation. And I've had him on, I can't tell you how many jobs, because he so impressed me the first time he came, and gave me his case for why we should have this done. I said, this guy knows his stuff. So anyway, I've given Kirk lots of work, but he's fallen ill, but he's doing better. So Kirk, big shout out. I was in to see him tonight at the hospital. And these are his dad. When his dad, just before his dad died, he'd made a bunch of these remote control mahogany Chris Craft boats. So you can see all of the electrics and everything in there. And Kirk didn't have a place to display them, so we brought them out here and we have them in the other room, and the guys come to the classes can sit and look at them, but they're really cool. A lot of work went into them, so I just thought I'd show you one. Yeah, someday we might see if we can fire it up. Get better, Kirk. We got work for you, brother. Next.
All right, so this is another, I'm sorry, this is one on dovetailing and specifically talking about the scribe line. And it's from Allen in Pepperell, Massachusetts.
Pepperell, yeah, I know that.
He says,
Yeah.
I've often seen dovetail scribe lines on some of the projects that you show on the
Oh.
training hand. Is that the final finish, or is there more planing to do? I think he's really asking, should you show the line or not show the line? I
hate it. And every once in a while, I make it too deep, and there's too much material to remove in order to get rid of it. But if I'm at my best, you'll never see the scribe lines. I don't ever think it makes anything look better. I know there's people that will cut dovetails with a router and then go in with a marking gauge and put in a line trying to fool people. But I just think I don't like it at all. And it disappoints me when I finish something and all of a sudden, shoot, I can see some of the gauge lines. So,
And I'm the opposite of you. I like the gauge line. I think it shows handwork.
well, Luther's staying after school today. Anyway, the secret to not doing it is when you're working the face, go really easy on that line so that you don't have to go in and plane it off. The problem is, especially if you oil, it doesn't take oil well, it stands out, and if the line gets a little thin on one side and a little head deeper on the other, it doesn't take it evenly, and it just...
And can you demonstrate how a little trick where you only do the line where you want the dovetail base?
Well, it takes a little extra work if you're going to do, where's my glasses? If you're going to do that, because what you essentially have to do is literally draw out the dovetail beforehand, before you put your marking gauge line on. So if I took my dovetail marker, Jake, can I get some more ink, some more lead?
You can, you just don't have any. So you can.
0.05?
I just don't have it.
Shoot, I'll use a pen.
Do you want to piece it up to wood?
No, I can use this. So I would come in like this, and I would draw out the angles of the dovetail, and you can kind of get close as to where the baseline is, and then you can take your marking gauge. And the nice thing about a wheel style gauge is it's easy to see, and you just roll it.
Tilt down a little bit.
Roll it between the lines. Move over to the next one, same thing. Just roll it between the lines And then you don't have to worry about getting rid of them. If they show on a drawer, they shouldn't show on a drawer if you built the drawer properly, because you end up taking all that material off in the final fitting. But if they do show in the drawer, it's not so bad. But to have it right up on the top of a cabinet, yuck. No marks on that one. So I would say my best work, you never see it. On my not so best work, you might. Next, please.
So here's a question from the chat from Karen Blandino.
Karen?
Karen Blandino, that's the at Karen Blandino, so I assume it's Karen.
Hi, Karen.
It says, she asked, what do you think is the best vacuum system for a new shop? So I'm assuming she means a built-in vacuum system.
Oh, not talking veneer press, you're talking about a vacuum?
Maybe ask both. What, as a portable, what you think is the best, and what do you think is the best for a built-in?
No, but I'm said, you're talking about a shop, you're not talking about a vacuum veneer press, you're talking
No, we're
about
talking
dust
vacuum
collecting.
system, my dust collection system. What's the best dust collection system for a new shop? And
Well, the first and most important criteria is I don't want to hear it. There's nothing more irritating than listening to the drone of a dust collector. So maybe in the beginning, and you're money conscious, you have to have a portable one. They're all loud. I mean, yes, you can go around with ear protection on, but I'd like to be free. In here, we put ours in the shop over there so we can drive them crazy, and we don't hear it over here. And Ken, how far you got to go?
Yeah. Not far.
If you're looking for the best system, I think Oneida out of Oneida, New York, is probably going to provide you with the best. I like their system. I like their cyclone, the way that it works, so that you don't have. I don't like the systems that the dust drops in the bottom. The heavy particle drop in the bottom, and the lighter stuff goes up over the top, because a lot of that passes through and ends up in your filter bags. The cyclone spins it around so that very little heavy material actually gets into the bag. You don't want them to empty your bags all the time. So as far as brands go, if it was me doing it, I would save my pennies until I could buy a stationary one that I could put somewhere outside of the shop. Or if I had to do it in here, I would actually build a little insulated box. You still have to be able to return the air, so baffle it somehow. But I can't give you a recommendation on brand names other than Oneida. I think is probably the best one you're going to get. We've had what did we sell to Al? General International?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just those,
I have one.
huh?
Noisy, I have one.
Oh, Ken has one in his shop. You can't hear him, he hasn't got a mic on, but noisy, and irritating. Yeah, that's the downside to power tool woodworking, is having to deal with dust. Next.
So this one is from the chat, no name.
By the way, Luther's here because Luther handles 3 of the 6 classes, and Kyle over in Newfoundland handles the other 3. So, but Luther was here. I asked him to come up and help me with our
Intermediate drawer.
Hey, did he go over to get Kyle's?
No,
Where'd he go?
I don't know. He's working on power.
Can you send him a text if he has phone? Ask him if he bring Kyle's project over. We can show it.
That's Ken's mission.
It's still in there. Don't drop it in case he's watching. Anyway, so Luther came up. I asked him to come up and help me with we did our first ever intermediate drawer making workshop, which was for vets that have been to the Purple Heart Project and qualified to come back for that. And my buddy John in Florida, big shout out to him, financed that, which was above awesome. Anyway, and then Luther stuck around for the week, and now he's going to be here for another week. He and his wife Erica are on their what is this your final tour, or how all the bands when they get a certain age they do their
We're
final
selling
tour.
the camper van after
Oh
this.
yeah, it is the final tour. They're selling the camper van. They're going to park it down by the river, and that's where it's going to stay.
If you're in the Palm Springs area, you're more than welcome to bid on it.
Yeah, So if you're looking for a camper van, and the date on the camper van is
1997, but it's really good.
1997, and it's in good condition. They drove it all the way across the country. You have a question, or was I just going on?
Yeah,
I was
do have
telling
a
them why
question.
you were here.
I'm waiting for you to.
Oh, look, he did. Good.
Waiting for you to be quiet.
So
I can
let me
ask
show
questions.
you what we did. And this represents, where would you put this, Jake?
Percentage wise?
Yeah. Come on.
80.
Can they hear him?
80%? No, you can't. 80%?
What are you talking about?
What percentage-wise are you talking about?
No, how good was it?
Oh.
In the class, how good was Kyle's?
How many students were there?
There's
12.
15, so 14.
16.
14.
Well, I wouldn't.
He was number 15.
15.
Is Kyle on? He doesn't, he
I
never
can only
watches.
hope
I haven't seen it.
So we gave them a board of cherry that was 40 inches long, somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 13 inches wide. We had dimensioned it, meaning it was flat and smooth, or flat and thickness. So they had to cut the pieces, plane the edges, square everything up on the shooting board, and then build the case. So the case, this is all made out of cherry. The case is built out of 5/8 inch cherry, mitered edge dovetails front and back.
We won't zoom in.
And then we had through wedge tenons, triple, 3 on each side, wedged with ebony. I don't know where he got that. And it had to be accurately made, very accurately made. And then the back sits in there as well. And then we built a drawer. So this is the traditional English style drawer making. The sides are made out of aspen, the back is made out of aspen, which is nice and white, so it really makes it show up well. Now, he didn't get around to fitting this yet, but it's a process. So ultimately, he'll fit this so that when it goes in there, there is no slop. And he's saving this piece of wood. I think this is gonna go down underneath, that's right. So that was the project. These guys worked their butts off. I didn't get here till 7 in the morning, and they were always here already working. And at least 2 nights, I think at 11:45, I said, okay, boys, turn out the lights and lock the door when you're gone. But most people worked until at least 10 or later. And that was for 6
Okay,
days.
time for another question.
No, I'm not, I'll tell you when I'm done.
Time for another question.
So this was fantastic work. Out of the 14, I think 11 of them got this,
10.
10 got it assembled?
10 finished with a drawer.
Oh, 10 finished with including the drawer. And I was shooting for half, so big shout out to you guys. Now I'll take a question.
This is from the chat. It's from @Emersonian7154.
That's too
He only
hard.
has a small home shop, and he wants to know if you can only buy a bandsaw or a table saw, which one should he get? And I'll add in, I think there's a small philosophy out there among some woodworkers that the bandsaw is better than the table saw.
Some. If I was going to buy one or the other, I would buy the table saw. I think if you polled 100 people, the majority would say table saw is your #1 tool. Hard to work without a good jointer, but you can possibly do it with a table saw. Can't cut curves with a table saw, but you could always get a jigsaw if you had to. So, and if you need to resaw, want to make veneer, you can do it on a table saw until a certain thickness anyway. So I would buy a table saw, would be my first purchase. And I'll do a commercial for them. I wouldn't buy anything other than a saw stop. The safety feature is a huge advantage, but the saw stop, in my opinion, and I've worked with probably a dozen different brands, some of them long since gone. The saw stop is the best quality saw, most accurate, has some innovative stuff on there that nobody else ever thought of, power transmission, just fantastic, fantastic tool. We have 3 of the industrial models. The one down from that is the
Contract.
no, not the contractor. No,
Professional.
yeah, we have the industrial, so it goes industrial, professional. So I would buy the professional if you were,
I had the contractor, not the portable, but the contractor.
open stand or closed?
Open stand.
Open stand. Yeah.
That goes up to 36.
You can get it configured to go up to 36.
They're all good saws, but obviously the price is going to dictate how heavy and extra good they are. So if you can't afford it, save the money until you do. You won't regret it. Okay, next.
So this is from a quote, Graph Paper Kevin, which I suspect is a big PHP supporter, Kevin Smith from Virginia, and he asked, what's the trick to getting consistently smooth, chatter-free performance when using a spoke shave on end grain?
Ooh. Well, Kev, two things. You have such a small surface area, so you don't have a lot of sole. Nothing personal. Sharp blade, number one, but probably the biggest problem is people project the blade too far out, and then it digs in and it makes you pull harder. And when you pull harder, you lose control and you have the tendency to jump and it digs in again. And so sharp blade, minimal projection. Skew it a little bit. You'll find it a little bit easier on end grain if you start by skewing it a little bit. But the other thing is practice. Just spend some time on it. I had a contract to build seating for 200 at a private school not far from here. Tables and chairs, and there was a tremendous amount of spoke shave work because the backs were solid wood, but they were shaped, and that all had to come with I bandsawed them, but then I had to improve the surface with a spoke shave, so I could have to do minimal sanding. So you get to be pretty good with it, but so there's no substitute for some practice, but definitely sharp blade, minimal projection. And get a good spoke shave. They're not all spoke shaves are not equal.
And get good on the soft wood.
Yeah, practice on soft wood, piece of basswood, piece of pine, and you get your technique down before you have to start applying the extra effort to get through the harder wood. And thank you for everything you do, Kev. We certainly appreciate it. Like Luther said, he's a fantastic supporter of PHP. He came here. What class was he in?
Is he in July? I think he's in July.
I think July. Yeah, because I was here.
Yeah.
So this question is coming from Tanner in Dawson Creek, BC.
Tanner, another Canadian.
Yeah, and he's asking about Tusk tenon. So he's building a bed frame, and he wants to know if he uses Tusk tenons to join the rails to the headboard and the footboard, with the wedges being vertical. How thick should the tenon be to allow it to be strong enough once the material is removed for the wedge? And he's using softwood. He doesn't say what thickness wood he's using, so I think you're just going to have to talk about percentage of wood removed for the tenon.
Well, that's the strength issue on that is actually going to be how much material is going to be behind the mortise where you're driving the tenon down. The sides, I mean, wood has tremendous tensile strength, right? If I took this piece of wood of Kyle's and I tried to pull it apart, I mean, all of us in this room together wouldn't even start to stress it. So when you're driving that wedge in, it's pushing that last piece off that you need to worry about. So you need to have a fair bit of material behind the wedge. But as far as the sides, on either side, I'd have no problem making it, if it was 3/4, taking the 1/4-inch section out and having a 1/4 on either side. In fact, I'd probably even go down to 3/16 and still not feel any worry about it, because there's no side pressure on that. So that's my final answer, and I didn't have to call a friend.
So next question is from the chat with Chelsea Wine.
Hey, Chelsea.
And he's thinking of getting a 20-inch drill press. Wants to know, should I go with the 1.5 horse or just go for the heavy 2 horse?
A drill press?
A 20-inch drill press.
Wow, it's a big drill press. Well, if you're using it just to drill holes, I mean, we don't have a drill press that would have, we don't even think ours even have a 1/2 horsepower. Most of them are usually a 1/3. So a horse and a half on a drill press, I would think would be plenty, but it's always better to have more than to have less.
Yeah, he's really thinking that the 2 horse would be heavier and therefore the drill press would be more stable. That's what he's And he wrote a big, long question.
Well, you can usually, I mean, almost all drill presses are made so you can bolt them to the floor. So that takes care of that issue. And if you can't, if you got a concrete floor or something, you can always bolt them to a piece of plywood to increase the surface area that it's sitting on. But as far as actual power, I can't imagine needing a horse and a half, but if 2 horse comes with not a whole lot of extra money, go with the 2 horse. And then you can use it, you can, I don't know if they make a mortising attachment for that big of a bandsaw, but you could, yeah, 2 horse, you could do anything with it.
So next question comes from Bill Trainer in Buckeye, Arizona.
Hi, Bill.
I was just down in Sanders, Arizona for a while, and he's talking about restoring antique hand planes, and specifically about the sole of the plane. So he says, when flattening the sole of the plane, what is the final grit polish that you would recommend? And is there a difference if you use a thick course, say 150 grit, versus a super fine grit, say 600 on the final polish?
Well, when I used to teach the class on rehabbing an old Stanley plane. So I would go to a woodcraft store and everybody would bring their plane, and I would choose somebody's plane out of the audience, and we'd go through and restore it. A couple things I found. The coarse of the paper, it seemed to be harder to get it to bite. So I tend to use 120, maybe even 150. It clogs up quickly, so you want to keep it clean, so whether either you're vacuuming it or blowing it out with some compressed air. And we would usually stop at 150. You want, depends on what you're using for. If you're trying to make it look really pretty, take it up to 400. Do whatever you want. Don't start with 400 because you'd be there forever. So get it flat on 120, 150, and then a couple more bumps up and finish off at 320 or 400, whatever you want. But I think all the ones that I ever did, we would have stopped at 150 and it worked fine.
I typically stop at 220 when I did mine.
Yeah.
The next question comes from Rafael in Mexico City.
Raphael, how do?
This could be my favorite question of tonight, and we'll see. I think I know what you're going to say. But he's got a new set of Nerix Richter chisels, and it's a sharpening question. He says that the instructions on the Nerix says that the back doesn't need to be touched because it's already factory flattened. So is this true, or does he need to do anything to the back of the chisel?
What's the model?
Nerix Richters.
Oh, those are the ones, that would be their higher end, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't ever recall, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say I don't ever recall meeting a manufacturer that actually was a great woodworker that was making woodworking tools, which always made me wonder, how can they make a tool and they don't even know how to use it? This could be the exception, I'm not aware, but I don't trust anybody to, oh, here's one right here, to produce the tool the way I want it to be used. Now, we did work on this, Jake.
We did work on it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a Nerix Richter. It has you know what? It has a nice handle, nice ash handle. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that the back turns into a cone, so especially when you're working it, because you can accidentally hit the edge of the stone and it elevates it. So no, they're not ready from the factory. Yes, they'll cut. You might get them so that they're at 92, 93%, but if you want 100%, you're going to have to do that yourself. You're going to have to polish them. And I see this one actually has a dip right there in the middle that doesn't really, I wouldn't bother to get rid of that, but if there's a dip there, that probably wasn't perfectly flat from the factory. So I don't believe that.
So next question is from the chat. It's from at Normadiv5197, who tells us he's from Sweden. And it's a question about wood hinges in cabinets. It says, if I'm installing wood hinges into cabinets vertically, is that okay? He's worried about a risk of ripping the hinge with the weight of the cabinet door.
No, didn't Didn't John Candy do a skit where he was a Swedish guy? Back from his SCTV days? It just made me think of that. I've used them on cabinet doors, and it survived probably 5 of my 10 children before somebody broke it off. So if it's a heavy door, and when I made mine, I had it in 3 sections. So I had, I think there were 3-piece. So that if the door was, we're working on a ebony and ash desk. So if the door was that big, I had a piece of hinge that long, which was consist of 3 dowels, and then I had another 3-piece down here and another 3-piece at the bottom. And like I said, it lasted a long time. Somebody wrenched on the door, and it would have come off no matter if it was made out of brass or wood. If you're worried about it, just use more pieces, right?
What about using a thicker wood hinge? Because if you buy our kit, you can go from, small to big.
Well, yeah, if you plan to flatten them off, flush them off like this, then you run a risk because you don't have as much material on the outside of the center hole that you drilled. I left mine round, just meant more material. There's not a whole lot of glue surface between the dowel and the wood, so again, the more segments of dowel you have, the more wear surface you have, the more glue surface you have, so it's going to be stronger. But you know what? If you're worried about it, do a mock-up, make one, build it, and then see if you can rip it off. See how much pressure it'll handle. That's the best way to do it. Anytime I experiment with anything, and I like to try to be original on stuff that we make, you almost always have to do a mock-up first to see, is this going to work in a true real-life situation? So that would be my advice. Make it as a mock-up and see if it works. And then you'll know whether or not you can do it or how many few hinges you can get away with. Send me a picture, please. Next.
So this might be my second favorite question of the night. It's from the Bradley Son Catbird Hill 6849 in the chat. It says, I'm fast approaching my retirement and have always dreamed of taking a woodworking class. I'm a beginner. Would one of your classes be a good choice, or should I do something more remedial?
Well, in our last PHP class, which was class number 37, which was in September, we had 14 students in the class. 7 were wounded vets, 7 were paid customers. And one of the first questions I asked is, how many of here don't know anything about woodworking? And didn't we have 9 or 10 hands that go up?
It was at least 7.
I thought it was even higher than that. So these people had never done any woodworking. And I think when I expanded that to say, how many have never done any strictly hand tool woodworking, that might have been where it was 11 or more. So our class is unique because we're dealing with combat wounded vets and offering woodworking as a possible solution for a happier life through a stress relieving hobby. We get guys that are, okay, I'll try this. So we have to be able to entertain the serious hobbyist who's been doing it for a long time, the woodworking instructor, teacher that we often have, and the guy who's a complete novice. So the way we do it is everybody gets instructions up at my bench, then you go back to your bench. Luther made up a syllabus that has step-by-step pictures, except don't go to step number 4. And there's 4 of us that circulate around the room and offer you help as you need it. So if I tell people, if you have the interest and you still have the dexterity to be able to tie your own shoes, come to the class. You'll love it. And the food, whew, over the top. And stay on our newsletter. Make sure you pay attention and open it up, because that's how we advertise when the classes will be ready for sale. Next. Big shout out to Angie. Ken told me, Angie, in case you don't know who Angie is, this is Angie. So she's Ken's cousin, and she and her sister Lynn do all the packaging of our t-shirts. So she works here, but she's homesick. Is that what you told me? She's got a
A
cold?
little cold.
A little cold. Ken will cover for you, Ange, until you're better, because you've had to cover for him many times. And Jake. So if we wear out Ken, we'll call in the reserves.
So this is from Gary Nellis
Hey, Gary. I know
from
Gary.
Ontario.
Yeah, I know Gary.
And Gary's making a entryway bench where the legs are at a 25-degree angle from the seat. And the legs have a tenon, they're going into a mortise.
25-degree angle, like sloping.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
yeah. So his question is about cutting that tenon. He asked, should that tenon be a angled tenon or should it be a straight tenon?
No, I would put that tenon, I think I would put that tenon straight through. So then it's going to come through on an angle. On the mortise is obviously is going to be angled. It's not going to go, the mortise is not going to come through that end perpendicular. It's going to be on an angle. Now, I assume you're going to wedge it on the other side. So that would be an interesting, application, but still doable. Would I run the wedge down through the long axis of the tenon, or would I go across? I think I might go across. It would have to be sloped. That'd be fun to do. But yeah, I wouldn't take your stretcher. You know, your stretcher is that horizontal piece underneath. I wouldn't do this to your stretcher. Right? Have the tenon go up. Then you got a little short grain in there. So this tenon's going to come through like this, but it's going to project through your stretcher. It's going to project through like this. Yeah. That's another situation where I would build a mock-up and make sure through the mock-up that it actually works the way you want.
So this is from the chat. It's from Matt NB2 PG.
Hi,
And
Matt.
he's building a hall table, I guess just shaker style hall table. And his question is about the legs. And they're obviously vertical, and he wants to add some style to them with tapers. Should he taper 2 sides of the leg or 4 sides of the leg?
Shaker style. Give that to me again. I gotta put
He's
that-
making a hall table,
a hall table.
right?
Okay.
It's a standard hall table, think of
Yeah.
a shaker hall table. Got 4 legs. He
Yeah.
wants to
Legs are coming perpendicular
Perpendicular
underneath.
down.
Take them both. Do the 2 inside tapers. So you're going to leave the outside straight, the 2 outside corners straight. Taper the 2 inside to come down to a smaller foot. Looks a whole lot better. I've done that. Yeah. Gives it just gives it a nice little look. It's all about negative space. So the negative space is the space you see in between the legs, and that will be tapered, and it'll look nice.
So another question from the chat, and if you have some questions, go ahead and put them in the chat because I'm done with all the write-in questions. But this is another guy from Sweden from the chat. He's asking, "What's the?"
Are we the hot ticket in Sweden tonight?
We are. I think it's Sweden. Iceland was first with Civi, and now it's Sweden.
Going south.
So he's talking about cabinet door latches, and he's asking you, in your opinion, what's the best cabinet door latch? He doesn't like those ball and snapper latches.
No, is he thinking of making his own or buying one?
He doesn't say. He just says the ball and snappers and the magnets have a cheap feel to me. So
Yeah.
he must be building cabinet doors.
So
and he's
I'll tell you
trying-
what I've done this several times, and I like them, is I make my own. I don't think I have any examples in here. So I've done them. One I made out of brass, and brass is easy to work with. And I turned a knob, I think out of ebony. So the knob goes all the way through. I made a little, Jake, what's that plate called? Escutcheon? Escutcheon plate out of brass on the cabinet. And so that when you close the door, this round knob, and you wouldn't know any better, right? So it's kind of a interesting little thing because people would not be able to open it if you didn't want them to open it because they wouldn't know to turn it. And you would just, after you close it, you turn the turned knob, and the little brass pin that's in there goes into that escutcheon and locks your door. And on others, I've got one upstairs, and other ones I've just came up with some creative way of taking a wooden knob, turned on the lathe, and on the back side had some kind of a little pin that when you turned it, it would create a locking effect. I don't like anything that I've seen purchased. I'm with you, that tends to be junky. When we built a tool cabinet that we're trying to auction, is that what we're gonna do, Luther?
Yeah.
We're gonna auction the tool cabinet? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how finally we're gonna be able to use that tool cabinet as a fundraiser. But on that, in order to get a good lock, I don't know how many we bought before we found one that was decent. And I didn't care what it costs, I just wanted something that was good. And gee, some of the stuff is just junk. Even as it was, when we got it, we had to go in and sand it and shape it to square it up, and oh boy. Ken, any vets on tonight to say hello to?
Jeff's on.
Jeffrey O'Connor.
Yeah. Mark,
Jeffrey, I'll call you back, brother. I was on the phone with somebody and I didn't get to call you back.
Mark Smith.
Mark Smith. Mark was here last week. Mark drove down from Ontario, Canadian combat engineer, and Mark did a great job. Mark finished his, right?
Yeah.
And it was rough in the beginning. This is tough. There's a lot of work, but he stuck through it and got it done. Good on you, Mark.
Andrew Burho.
Andrew Burho. Well, you know what? All I do is I look in this direction and I see all of these shorts. I don't throw anything away. But it used to be that my shorts were just, my short pieces of wood were everywhere. And you could never find anything, and I'd spend hours searching for it. And now I have 8 separate sections by species, all neatly done and written on the end how long they are, so I can see the end, so I know how wide it is. And then he went in, measured every one. Just, oh, fantastic. Andrew, buddy, thank you.
And Sid's on.
Sydney. He's our security man. Sid works here. He runs our CNC for all of our handles, and he works here and 1 day a week. And great guy. Good to see you, Sid. That's it?
Okay, next question from the chat, Jerry Bass 3346
Hey, Jerry.
wants to know what's the best brand of spoke shave.
Is that Jerry from Seattle?
Most likely.
Most likely. Jerry, been a long time, bud. I'll tell you. If I was going out and buying a spoke shave today, well, I would buy this is a round bottom one. This is a Boggs, a Lee Nielsen Boggs, or my favorites have always been the Lee Nielsen Preston. So these are all brass. Pattern after Preston and Sons, which is, I believe, a UK company that goes back a long time.
Are they 98.99?
No, I don't think they have a number. They're just referred to as the Preston. So that's a flat bottom, that's a round bottom, so it's curved in this direction. And I just like the way they feel and the way they work. If you want something a little more robust, Lee Nielsen has at least 3 different types of Boggs, Brian Boggs designed them, and that's a nice shave as well. And that is the ones that I would buy. Now I did a lot of work with those, the one made called, it's a Stanley, but it was made by Kuhns out of Germany. And as long as you're willing to go in there and fix things up, it'll work, but these are ready out of the box. So, nice. And a big shout out to Lee Nielsen. Tom Lee Nielsen's been a friend of mine for a long time. I represent him in Canada. And Tom is good enough to give us a great deal on tools that we provide to our vets when we're here. So, big thank you.
So
Next.
another question from the chat with Bradley's son, Catbird Hill 6849. How important is climate controlling in your shop? AC, dehumidifier. Is that important, or should we just have
I would
a non?
say that would be second only to being able to see. Because if you don't have a climate control in your shop, then every piece of wood you set down is going to be different when you come back the next time. So If you can control the climate so that your boards aren't moving all over the place. We used to teach in Niagara Falls at my friend Mike Smrek's house, and we used Schoberg workbenches, big, heavy. I hated moving them around, they're so heavy. And one year, we ended up storing them in Mike's barn. It was enclosed, but it wasn't heated. And when we went back there the next spring to teach, those benches, all the joints had opened up. They were just, they exploded. So, yeah, you got to have climate control. If you're going to get serious about woodworking, you need climate control. Otherwise, you're going to deal with so much frustration, you're not going to like the results. Good question. That's never been asked, but yeah, that's right up there.
Okay, this is from the chat. We're all questions from the chat, so throw your questions in there if you want Rob to answer them. So this is from Northern Sawdust. I had to remove the frog from my 5.5, and now I can't get my blade to extend out beyond the mouth without running the yoke off the wheel. Help me.
Check and make sure that when you put the frog back in, that little tab of metal on the back is sitting in the slot. There's, what's he have? Did he say the brand?
No, just 5.5.
Okay, so if you've got a Bailey style, then you just have, well, you might only have one screw back there. Might not have any if it's old enough. If it's a bedrock, you're going to have 3 screws back there. And that little tab, there's a little slot in the middle screw where the tab sits, so you can pull it forward and move it back. And that would be, oftentimes when people put it back there, they don't do that right, and that's going to cause the problem you're dealing with. If it worked before, and now it doesn't, I'm guessing that that's the problem. You just don't have that positioned properly, so you've got it moved all the way forward. Read the question to me again, just to make sure I understand exactly what he's asking.
He removed his frog from his 5.5, and I assume he reassembled it. But he said after removing it, he can no longer get his blade to extend out beyond the mouth without running the yoke off the wheel.
Right. So, couple things. If it's an old style plane, that wouldn't be a fact. No. The other thing that's, you may have, if you've got your chip breaker back too far, that actually wouldn't cause the problem either. So I got to say, I'm almost 9 out of 10 times, that's the problem. You haven't put that little tab in that little slot. I can't think of any other reason, if it worked before, why it doesn't work now after you've taken it apart. So check that. That's my bet.
So here's a question from another super supporter of PHP.
Who's that?
One of my favorite people, Michelle Corniglio, and her husband
Boston?
Mark. And Mark's
Down-
they've made a couple of PHP benches, and she wants to say
Down in Boston? Down in Massachusetts?
No. They're in Vancouver, Washington. You know Vancouver, Washington.
I used to live in Vancouver, Washington.
No, you did.
I thought that was Michelle that came to the class.
No, that's
No.
Michelle Paganelli.
Ah.
Okay.
Well,
Anyway, she
Michelle.
wants
Any PHP supporter that's a friend of his is a friend of mine.
to know if I read my email.
If Luther
Again, yes.
reads his email?
I
Luther
haven't
can't
answered.
read.
She sent me a question and I haven't answered it, and I apologize, Michelle. And the answer is I'm good on wooden coins for right now, but I will give you a detailed answer tomorrow. Sorry for leaving you hanging.
What was the question she asked you?
She wants to know if I read my email anymore.
Oh, I thought you were answering whatever she said.
I did answer it. Hang on while I look for another question from the chat.
We have room for 2 more.
So Brian McQueen 2660
Hey,
wants to
Brian.
know: do you still make chairs? And if so, do you have any for sale?
Do I still make chairs?
Do you still make chairs?
Well, he said, do any of those chairs you made still exist?
Oh, yeah, there's one here in the shop somewhere.
Buy it.
What?
He wants to buy it.
Really? That's our shop chair. And it's, you know what? It was a prototype that I made to sell the school on the idea, when they came to me and design. So that chair goes back to 1990. So it has been kicking around this shop for 35 years, and it gets used to stand on, to store lumber on, to do everything, and it's still together. I couldn't part with it. But you know what? That's a good idea. We should actually do a chair in the online workshop in one of our next project. We haven't done a chair in a long time. Chairs are a difficult, no, I wouldn't say difficult, complicated design, and it'll really make you think. I've done that I studied furniture design at BYU under Milo Baughman, and you would make lots of prototypes, which is fun because trying to get it to fit just right and to look just right was really enjoyable. Loved it. Another one?
So here's another one from the chat from someone calling himself Darren the Master Romeo. And he says, Darren here, finally back in the UK.
Hey!
How often would you recommend practicing?
Falling in love?
I'm answering on the chat.
No, I said, how often would you recommend falling in love? I got to tell that story, but what was his question?
How often would you recommend practicing dovetails? And what's the best way to keep narrow tails square?
Is this Darren asking for him? First of all, I got to tell you a lovely little romance story.
Still, I don't know.
So Darren first applied for the drawer making workshop, but he'd never been to the training the hand. Well, that's a prerequisite. So he came to training the hand and had planned a whole vacation, stayed around for the week, and it was great too because I had forgotten that everybody needed a saw bench for this upcoming drawer making workshop. So he went right to work and built all the benches for everybody and helped us out with some other stuff. And then right near, I think it was Wednesday or Friday, one of the vets wasn't able to make the class. So we had an empty spot. So I said, Darren, would you be interested in staying for the class? And absolutely he would. So he did. Now back up a few days. Kevin works in our shop. Kevin's our artist, if you've seen any of the work we have. And Kevin's wife has a friend, and Kevin got talking to Darren at one point, and he said to me, he says, do you think he'd be interested? And I said, sure, by all means. So he introduced him. Well, sparks flew. So Darren fell in love, which is a lovely story. I told him, I said, you deserve to be happy, bud. So anyway, now, practicing dovetails. How often? Well, I used to go in every morning. When I was at BYU and I was learning this, I would go in every morning about 6 o'clock before class, and I would cut a row of dovetails. And then once I had it so that I could do them, I wouldn't say perfectly, but no visible gaps, I couldn't see room for improvement, then it was, okay, now I got to get faster at this. So then I would go in, I would just practice till I got my speed up. So it would be economical to do it on a commercial level. So daily works. Does. That's what I would recommend for you, bud.
So I think we get two more in.
Keep
the
going,
chat,
I'm good.
Paul Hayton 3423 wants to know who is forwarding questions to Rob. And I can only assume he is amazed by the quality of the question asking and the clarity
Or
of my
annoyed.
accent.
Cannot understand. Actually, he's pretty good tonight. There's no South Carolina accent. I talked about Paul. So Paul Hayton, I met Paul a long time ago.
It's Hayton.
Hayton, that's what I said. Hayton,
Yep.
H-A-T-O-N. We used to just call him Paul Brassman. So Paul is a genius. And whenever I was trying to come up with an idea on something, I had an idea in my head, but you can't, in the process of developing it, you also have to, this has to be manufactured. And that's where Paul's genius would come in. So our mortising gauge attachment, that is credited to Paul. The latest iteration of our wood hinge dowel jig. So we used to, in fact, this is the, if you look in here, this is the earliest, this is the original. Actually, it's this one right here. That's the original jig. And then Paul got the idea, he said, Rob, why not make this so we can expand it and use it on several? So now we sell a kit, and you can mix and match, you can change the size of the pins, and you can do 4 different size wood hinge dowels. So that's just a couple examples of Paul's contribution to our business. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, we can squeeze in one more question. Last question of the night is from M. Garcia, 7357 in the chat from San Antonio, Texas.
San Antoine.
Wants to know, how do you choose the type of wood for your projects? Physical properties, hardness level, color, what do you do?
Yes. Obviously, you have to take into hardness, because if it's something that's going to be swept around or walked around, it's going to get hit with a broom, it's going to get kicked, so it's got to be tough enough to withstand that. If it's a chair, it has to be strong. You can't have it breaking on somebody sitting on it, so you have to take that into account. Workability, you know, I mean, I've got some exotic woods over there. Purple Heart, what a pretty wood to look at. What a miserable wood to work. Terrible. Hate it. Color, you got to remember, with the exception of ebony, all woods are going to change color. You can't get any, if you're black, it's black. It's not going to change any, but the white woods are going to yellow, the brown woods are going to darken, the colorful woods are going to fade. You know, I got a piece of pink ivory over there that you couldn't tell it was pink ivory right now, but if I cut into it, you would. We've got a piece of Check-to-Coke, and that looks like, well, what would you describe it? It's just a dark brown. Take a pass with a plane and whoo, it's almost, I wouldn't say hunter's orange, but it is vibrant. Paduke or vermilion, either one, oxidizes to be a terrible, ugly brown, but take a pass with the plane and it's a brilliant hunter's orange. One of the nicest ones is Super Days wood, which is Vera wood. So if I took a piece of Vera wood over to the bandsaw and made a cut, I'd have a little pyramid of yellow sawdust. And if I came back a half a day later, I'd have a little pyramid of emerald green sawdust. It oxidizes that quickly. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to take into account. And on that note, where did they get this, Jake? So this chart that I often consult, worldwide woods ranked by hardness. So this tells you how tough the wood is. It rates them by region, you know, North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Central America. And the top left-hand corner is the hardest. So North America, desert ironwood. And on their scale, it's 3,260. And if you go down to the very bottom, you have balsam poplar, which is 300. Now, that may not be a familiar one. Eastern white pine is 380. And hard maple is 1,450, so that kind of gives you a range. And you go down there with Tony, and Tonys, that's right, I have 2 Tony friends in Australia.
The only Tonys we know live in Australia.
Yeah. The hardest wood on this chart is waddy wood. So I told you about Eastern maple that comes in at 1,450. Well, waddy wood is 4,630, so 3 times harder. It's concrete. Anyway, that's a really good chart to have. And what's amazing is the color reproduction is really, really quite good. In fact, hard to find an example here that you'd say, oh, that's not what it looks like. Pink ivory, really good representation there. African Paduke, really good. There's the one I was telling you about, Check-to-Coke down here, which is kind of a reddish orange. Bacote, zircote. Did you notice about how close they are, Jake? Bacote and zircote are side by side.
Yeah.
Wood is good. Are we done?
Hey, yeah, one last comment from O'Connor Woodworking.
Is that spelled with an ER, Luther? Is that ER? Oh yeah, he really liked your spelling on the latest. Did you notice that? That this month is October.
I said that because it's cold.
Oh.
Was it
2 hours, October. It's because his wife, Erica, has been bundled up in her bed with a heater on. She does not like our temperatures. What's the question what's Jeffrey saying?
He said that story of Darren reminded me of how Kyle and Luther fell in love.
It's funny, that's not the picture we saw last week.
Oh, I remember that picture on nationwide television. Listen,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all we got.
All right, so we are back on Thursday. I want you to tune in Thursday night and give these guys some love. So Thursday night, we're going to go around the room. Now, the guys will have been here Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They've been here 5 days. They're getting comfortable. We will have already done through dovetails on Tuesday, half blinds on Thursday, and then Thursday night you're going to get a chance to meet them, going to have a chance to look at their work. They'll get a chance to say howdy to their families at home. And we do this to try to give those of you, particularly those of you who support us, an opportunity to kind of feel what it's like to be here. These are awesome people. They deserve everything we can possibly do for them. They have laid it on the line for us. We owe it to them. Please help us continue to do this. And a big shout out to our kitchen staff, because I can't tell you how good the food is, but anybody who's been here, that's all they talk about. It is absolutely fantastic, and what great fuel to keep doing what we're doing. Big thank you to Frick. He's been quiet tonight, had the night off. He was here.
Go Jays.
Go who? Go Jays.
Who's winning, Mariners or Jays?
Oh, Jays are up 2-1 right now. Oh yeah, you're from Seattle.
Yeah, I'm talking about in the overall count of.
Oh, it's 2-2 tie series.
See you, folks. Couple of days.